Hey guys, just wanted to add this in post just to let you know that we had a bit of a technical difficulty, and my recording sounds like doo doo. So I apologize for any annoyances. I had to sit through it while I was editing, so I hope it's not too annoying to listen to. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to week 7 of the No One Asked podcast. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Brock. Thank you once again for tuning in. We appreciate it. So we just wanted to start it off. We put out a poll last night, prior to recording. So it's had 24 hours to go now. And we're just asking about the length of the podcast. After last week, which I think went for an hour and 36 minutes, did it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it definitely went on for a while, let's just say. So we were a bit conscious about that and wondering what you guys thought. So we just put it out to you guys. Like we've always said, we want your feedback. So that's what it was. And we just asked whether you guys wanted it over or under an hour, the podcast. So the results were pretty much bang on 50-50. So we're going to keep going forward and we're going to keep doing it as we do. And, but be a bit more self-conscious and, conscious of time and try and keep it much closer to that hour mark. But we're not going to put a, time bracket on ourselves.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's the way to go. I think we dragged it out a bit last week, so apologies for that. I was raving on a bit, but yeah, we're gonna try and stay more conscious of time, and whatever happens, happens. So
yeah,
I guess.
And I just wanted to quickly mention, for anyone who hasn't watched it and goes, "Wow, that's a long time," go watch it. It's not like we just rambled on about nothing, and we were just trying to drag out the time. There's a bunch of great content in there, so definitely go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I think we'll start with the league. What do you think about the Storm, man?
We can't complain with a performance like that, can you? One extreme to the other. Obviously, we didn't cop a beating, but an unfortunate result last week to a almost, certainly a performance you could never complain about, and you'll take any day of the week, especially during finals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's really not much to say. Just Storm were the far better side. I think we said that going into it. And just gave the Eels what they gave the Broncos the week before. Just proves that there is a point where a blowout win becomes useless and pointless. And like they said, really, for the Eels, a training run would have been better than playing the Broncos and winning by that much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we made mention of it last week. It just felt like it was Eels grand final last week. And I think we both predicted they weren't going to have anything special for Storm this week.
Nah, exactly. What did you think about the Cam Smith thing? Did you think it was sin bin?
Well, you're looking at that situation. I don't think it's worthy of a sin bin, but you also have to look at the rules, and you even go the night before, which we'll get to with Cody Walker. Somewhat similar situation. A palm to the face is now just a sin bin. So that's exactly what Cam Smith did. So, you know what? He deserves the 10 minutes because they're the rules. You need to stick by it. But it was a bit of an iffy situation. He gets hit late, no penalty for that. And then the man holds on while Smith tries to get up and, continues to hold on. Smith gets on his feet. The guy's still holding on. And then he tries to, shake him off and he's still holding. And then, takes a swipe at the arms and hits his head on the second one, which I think it's definitely a situation of he's done the wrong thing, and you shouldn't be swiping at someone's hands like that. I feel like that's not the way I'd go about it, but it seemed to be working until the second one hit his face. But he deserved the 10 minutes just simply because they're the rules of the game.
Yeah. I think that's just what happens. I think this is where the crossroads are with the rules and how I can't remember the word, but how pedantic, that's it, how pedantic the leagues are getting now with player safety and making sure the sport looks clean and friendly on television. Is just that situation definitely didn't warrant a sin bin because Cam Smith was just getting the Eels guy off him, but the rules say open palm or punch to the face is a sin bin. So has he gone to the judiciary yet?
I believe he has, and he just got a fine for it. He's not missing any game time, and I don't know whether he took early guilty plea or not, but it didn't really. He was never going to get banned. he was never going to miss the next game. It was just dependent on how much the fine was going to be worth or if he got fined.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was hoping for when it happened. I said he'll go, probably shouldn't get anything, and he shouldn't. I think that's the one thing I like about the NRL judiciary a bit, is that they seem to take it on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Not so much in the union where everything's like, oh well, what happened in this case 2 months ago? We have to do the same with this guy. It's like they take it a lot more situational, which is a bit better. But sometimes it obviously, players like Sam Burgess getting in trouble for what he did, just calling out the NRL and shit. But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah, but I kind of like it too. Like, let's even, go to the other brother and go George Burgess. It's like he got caught once for eye gouging, and I think he missed like 4 games. And then it's like he's gone about it a second time, and now, that's when the big punishment's coming in, and he missed like 10 games or however long it was, or I think it was 11. Like, a huge chunk of games, because it's like, we're going to look at your past, and if you've consistently done the wrong thing, we're going to further punish you for it, and it's just going to keep building on that. So I think that's good, and normally if you have a clean record, you can get off on your first charge and things, which I think makes sense. Like, that's just fair way to treat a player, which I think you probably have to give credit to the players committee, who is led by Cam Smith. So yeah.
What did you think of the Rabbits Eagles game then? I didn't really catch most of it. I think I watched the first 20 minutes. I seen the Cody Walker thing, but I can't even remember what the score was. I know the Rabbits won though.
Yeah, 34-26. So a much closer game, and it was a game that, you kind of had to be on your toes the entire way. Like, a lot of lead changes and stuff. So it was a much better game to watch if you wanted an interesting game of the two. But I think credit to Manly, they performed a lot better than I thought. Like, South's got the win, but I didn't think it was going to be this close. Like, I don't know what you thought though.
Yeah, I actually did think it was going to be a pretty close game. I'm not going to lie. Like, just because of how much the Rabbitohs got blown out by the Roosters, and then how much obviously Manly beat the Sharks. I did think it was going to be close, but I didn't think it was going to be that high scoring. Really, I thought it was going to be like maybe 18-6 or something.
Yeah, it's not normally that you see such a high score line.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a good game nonetheless. But I think, obviously, I think we probably both share the same opinion, like, of the Cody Walker situation comparing to the Cam Smith. Like, it's just the way the rules are now, and you can't argue with that. Like, they're very soft, but, rules are rules. And like you said, it's just the NRL trying to clean up their game and look, have a better reputation, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I hate about all of it is how the commentary team goes off about how soft the game has got. Like, you get a bunch of old coaches and old players from the 90s and stuff when it wasn't as professional and whatever, and they just go off about how, oh, this isn't Manly, this isn't what... It's like, that's just the rules, and that's just the way it's got to be. Everything's about looking clean and PG so that, there's nothing wrong going.
I think the biggest issue, and yeah, I completely agree there, and, parts of the game have gotten soft, and you need to understand how the game works to how, people are going to make their decisions and players are going to, how they're going to play. But it's just a scenario of, it's the way the game is now, and you know what? The game's gone this way, but I'm 100% certain that the quality of football is a hell of a lot better than it was 20 years ago.
Oh, 100%, man.
You know what? I'm all for it. Like, State of Origin back in the day, I used to kill for it just for the biff. Like, that was, the part you loved, and it was great to see him, like, just so much passion come out. But it's also pretty unsafe when, you consistently have to have that, 3 games a year at Origin. There's going to be crazy brawls that, I remember years that, I can't even remember, but people are consistently, like, just straight being knocked out. And it's like, the things they're doing on the field, if they were off the field, they'd be charged for it. So it's not like, the world forgets because they're in a game. Like, you still can't just go king hit a man or anything like that. So I don't think the game's gotten soft. It's just culture's changed and people care about football more than a punch up. Otherwise, they'd go watch the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think another thing in it too is I think sometimes I just don't think the players have the energy to care. about fighting anymore because they're just pushing their bodies to the limits to get to the peak of whatever they can and then do the job that they can. I don't think it's like a bunch of dudes who train and go get beers after the game or whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's professionalized a lot, and it's like you're smashing into it. Like this is like 120 kilo guys who shouldn't be moving as quick as they are, and they're just smashing into each other like week after week. I don't think they have. I think obviously you still see fights and stuff, but I just think like obviously with how clean the NRL wants it, it's just not worth it anymore,
Yeah.
and it's not worth the energy and just wasting the time.
It's more of a job now. Like, they go
Yeah.
out week to week because this is what they get paid to do. And no one's really willing to tarnish, like, their reputation or future contracts or whatever because they decide to have a fight and, lost it type thing. But yeah, you're definitely right. So I have a question focusing on this Manly South game. What do you think of the sin binning of Trebojevic that, I don't know, I guess set South onto a winning run?
Did Trbojevic get done for tripping?
He essentially just pulled down Dane Gagai. So I don't know if you caught it, but for anyone who doesn't know, it was a situation of Dane Gagai had made a break, passed it off, and then, Jake Trebojevic was trying to catch up and ended up like completely ripping down Dane Gagai to get to the man.
Mm.
And then he got 10 minutes for it, which I don't know if you've seen, but everyone is completely against it. Everyone was like, it's the softest sin bin. And once again, it's like, how soft's the game gotten?
I don't know. I actually didn't catch it. So what did you think of it? Because by the sound of it, like, I don't know. I think that should have been a penalty. If like having not seen how bad it was and just if he pulled down a guy to get to another guy, that's obviously like, I don't know, obstruction or some shit.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have just been a penalty, but was it bad?
I can definitely see why they're potentially, like, it was a penalty for sure. So the way I saw it, and this is what happened, it was Dane Gagai has made a break, he's passed it off, and he was like, Jake Trebojevic was right behind him, and it seemed like, and you do everything to get the man, but Dane Gagai was slowing down not to block, but because he was trying to get back onside to receive the inside ball again, and he would have been straight through like for an easy try. Where you've got Trebojevic who's like, I need to do everything I get to the man. What the hell? Gagai's slowing down in front of me. I need to get him out of the way, and just ripped him down. So you can understand the mindset of both men, and maybe a sin bin was harsh, but it's also a professional foul, which if he hadn't have done that, Dane Gagai potentially goes over if they throw an inside ball back.
Right, okay.
So it's a heavy professional foul, which I was actually for the sin bin. Like, I feel like not many people shared that opinion, but I think it was fair. It definitely seems soft, but it's a professional foul. It wasn't Trebojevic's intention to, take Gagai out of the game. He just wanted to, that was the quickest way to the man was through Gagai, so that's what he did. But I was fine with the sin binning.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, and it's always iffy with those support lines and how players can set it up and how teams are starting to run it in like both union and league, just purposely blocking players and stuff. But I mean, it's just that's the poison. If you're gonna pull a player out of the way, you're gonna have to get penalised.
Yeah, exactly. But it's normally a lot, like you said with the blocking, it's a lot more obvious. If someone's actually trying to block the man, they're normally like, checking their shoulders and going, he's running this way, so I'm going to slightly drift this way. Gagai just had eyes for the ball and was just like, I want the ball back. I'm going to get it back in a support position where I can receive the ball again. And yeah, got ripped down for it, which, yeah. So I was fine with it.
Yeah. So did South end up scoring on that play then, or did they get tackled?
So no, they ended up getting tackled because he went to the outside man and it came down, but obviously got called back. But yeah, a lot of people are kind of super unhappy with that decision because it gave Manly almost no chance to defend the final few minutes, which South went over and, won the game from that point.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, if you're a team and you give away a penalty in the last few minutes, you can't complain about the ref following the rules.
Yeah.
Like, that's just your team not being disciplined enough to win. And I know that as a Wallabies fan. So I know what it feels like for your team to not be disciplined enough and then you want to blame the ref. But you have to just take a step back and say, well, he followed the rules, our guy didn't, and we just had to do what we could. So there's not too much
Yeah, exactly.
really to it.
If you don't give the referee a reason to penalise you, he can't. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like I take that standpoint from it a bit, but, a lot of people see it differently.
Yeah. So obviously going into this week,
Yep.
who are you tipping? We'll go Raiders Rabbitohs first. Who do you think's gonna get up?
I I've watched Rabbitohs, bits and pieces, and overall, I'm not actually too impressed. But it's actually, a funny undernote of this game. It's definitely the Battle of England.
Yeah.
It's like you got all the English Burgess boys, and then you got Raiders with the English boys of Bateman and Whitehead and Hodgson. So it's kind of like a fun undertone of the entire game of just like it's England on England almost.
Yeah, yeah, it is actually. That's so true. I think Mum was saying she's seen something where there was like there's 9 players from England in both of these sides. Like obviously like you said, the Burgess brothers, and then Bateman and Whitehead, and
Yeah.
Hodgson, a few for the Raiders. So
Yeah.
yeah, it will be an interesting game.
Yeah, no, it should be a really good game, but I think it's two teams that, I think I've said previously, they don't have anyone that's going to highlight and shine for them. They're two teams that are just really solid, play well together, are coached extremely well, and that's where they're, good sides from. But I I definitely am leaning towards Canberra for this. I think Canberra's defense has been really strong and they just work so well as a pack together. And I don't think, I look at the week before against the Storm. Storm didn't get many, scoring opportunities, but when they did, they just ran over the top of Canberra. But I don't think Souths have that same quality.
Yeah. No, I don't think South do either. Really.
But I think it's going to be a very tight game just because they seem to be very similar in a lot of ways. So it's definitely, almost a coin flip. But where's your point on it?
Well, I think like you said, like I don't think like the Raiders particularly, but I don't think either side has that one player who can like turn it on and win a game for them. So I think just the sum of the parts, I think Canberra has a far better squad, and obviously it being in Canberra on a Friday night, it's still going to be freezing down there. I think it all just plays into the way for Canberra to hopefully win and make the grand final for the first time in forever.
Yeah, so I'm definitely on the side of the Canberra. I'm definitely rooting for them. I'd actually really like to see Canberra in the grand final. I reckon that'd be awesome.
Yeah, me too,
And
100%.
it's kind of their big redemption story. They haven't been there forever, so it'd be good to finally catch them there, and for the supporters to finally have get something out of supporting them and sticking with them for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to be good because whoever they go up against, I think the Raiders have the belief that they can beat. I don't know if the Rabbits have that same belief.
Yeah, I
If you know what I
agree.
mean? Like Raiders have already beaten, not to rub it in or anything, but already beaten the Storm twice this year, and you know played competitively against the Roosters. So I think they have a lot more faith than the Rabbits go. But then saying the same thing, the Rabbits will go in as complete underdogs, and that could play for them. But
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's looking ahead too much. I really think the Raiders will win on Friday night.
yeah. I think I'm the same, but I think it's probably a lot closer than I want it to be in a way.
Yeah,
And then obviously the other game is our boys.
yeah, the big matchup.
Yes, it's. I think it. Too early to tell, but I think it's the winner of this that's winning the grand final.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I think this is kind of the grand final before the grand final.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It sucks that it's come to this though.
Yeah, I think what you said it. Actually, no, you should be happy it came to this. What first week of finals? You're like, I want this to happen because
Yeah,
I don't want to, see them. Actually, no, I take it back. You said you didn't want this to happen because you either want to see them both in it or neither in it.
yeah. I think I said if the Storm don't lose, I want it to end up in the final as these two
Yep.
teams. But if the Storm lost, I did want the Raiders in, because I just feel like, like you said, this is a grand final before the grand final, and these are like easily the two best teams in the league, and it just sucks that one of them has to go home a loser on Saturday night.
Yep.
Um, but obviously I'll be back in the Roosters, probably watching the boys since they're won't be any interesting games from the Rugby World Cup on.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be watching the Roosters. Hopefully they get the W. But I mean, it's going to be sick. It's at the SCG. Hopefully they. It looks pretty good when they bloody pack out the Sydney Cricket Ground. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping
we'll see how it goes.
they should get a good turnout. But I just think I really don't know. I don't know who's going to win. I'll be back in the Roosters, but I'm not going to try and predict who's going to win because I just think like it's the two best teams. It'll be a flip of the hat, really.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout, and I don't think it's going to be a low scoring. I think it'll be like, I don't know, 18-16. Might even be like 17-16 or something.
Yeah.
Someone hits a field goal. Probably Cam Smith.
I definitely see it as being that kind of relatively low, tight scoring game, but I think definitely going into it, Roosters definitely have the edge. And, you know, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably put it on Roosters' side. Just the team, almost in every position, just slightly outdoes Storm as a whole as well. But there's also, I don't know if you heard, like Waria Hargreaves is out for this week. So that's a big toll. And I don't know if you heard the stat, but there's a stat that's like, if he's on the field, they go, Roosters have like a 68% winning. Like it's high 60s% winning. And when he's out, it drops down to like a 40% winning thing, which I didn't realize it'd be such a big jump for him. And, you know, maybe there's a number of other circumstances to why he's, you know, they're losing those games that he's not in. But it's a big deal. Like you take, I think for me, he's probably, besides Cordner, like their second best forward for one. But Storm always play the worst when they've got someone on the opposition that's giving them hell, like, and taking them away from their game. And that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it hurts in more ways than one, but it's going to be interesting to see what it comes down to.
Yeah, it will be. I think it's also like, I think Waria Hargreaves in a way sort of like in the same way that your number one wide receiver in NFL sort of works. Like if teams choose to, you know, like double team him, he makes everyone else around him better because he's doing the majority of the work and then everyone else has an easier platform to shine on.
Yeah, it leaves opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'd actually make the argument, I know Boyd Corner's obviously New South Wales captain and he's really good, but I think as a forward, he's not as explosive as Hargreaves, if that makes sense.
No, I think Hargreaves is definitely better physically. I think Corner's just smarter and can get into those positions a little bit better when he needs to.
Yeah, exactly. I think Cordona's more elusive and like uses his skill. I think most of the games I've seen without Hargreaves, we look a bit useless for a large majority of it until someone stands up, which is what worries me against the Storm.
Yeah.
So.
I think a definitely big talking point is once again another meeting of Chambers and Mitchell, but that comes down to whether or not Chambers is playing. Like, obviously after not being in it last week and getting rested and the side looking a hell of a lot better without him, I don't know. I think we made mention of it on the Team of the Decade, but Chambers is just, he's very average.
Yeah.
Like, he's very hot and cold. He's either outstanding or making stupid plays. And I was actually really stoked to see him dropped for that game and see Curtis Scott come in and just play a safe game and played really well too. So it's going to be interesting to see where Bellamy goes. But Bellamy was kind of like in the press conference afterwards was like, yeah, it hurts to drop someone who, you know, you've been coaching for so long and has been so instrumental to this team, but kind of left it at that. So I don't know if he's going to be back for this week. I actually hope not. But in saying that, I was thinking about it. I don't know what I'd rather. A game where Chambers could outdo Mitchell, but usually Mitchell dominates him. Or do you want to run it in with a Curtis Scott, which I think Latrell could probably just outdo all day. So, I don't know. It's a bit of a 50-50 scenario.
I think I'd take the gamble on Chambers, in all honesty. I think Chambers gets under Latrell's skin if Latrell messes up early. I think Chambers can get under his skin and just rattle Latrell out of the game. And then with Hargreaves out, I think that takes a massive loss.
I agree.
It's a massive hit on the Roosters But, I mean, like you said, it is a massive risk. And you don't know, like, maybe they play Curtis Scott and he plays a blinder.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But I definitely agree with that. It's almost between the two. It's who makes the first big play and they go on to dominate the rest of the game and just, you know, rub it into the opposition. So it's just going to be who gets on the best foot first. But, that's a 50-50 or a 60-40 call that we don't know until the game begins.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we'll quickly summarise it here. So I think, who have you got winning them?
I will go Raiders on Friday night and then the Roosters on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I'm on Raiders with you, and as much as it pains me to say, I think Roosters will get up, but can't help but support the boys. We have faith. We'll be there for the 2020 Grand Final, Raiders Storm. But on to the next topic. How are the Wallabies looking?
I don't know. Like, against Fiji, I think this is the thing. See, Fiji got beaten today by Uruguay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they had a 4-day turnaround. So they played against us on Saturday night and then had to play again Wednesday. And Uruguay's coming in fresh. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's their first game of the World Cup, which I don't know how that adds up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Fiji had made something like 12 changes to their side. So it's clearly not their run-on side. I mean, Semi Wadaraja was still there. Their captain was still there. A few of the other big players. But I think the thing is, I was just disappointed that Fiji majorly lost all momentum at the 60-minute mark.
Yeah.
They went up against us, I think it was 21-12, and I really thought we were going to get beat. And then we scored 2 kick tries off rolling mauls. Samu Karevi scored a nice one, and then a couple of minutes later, 5 minutes to go, Dane Haylett-Petty comes on and throws a really great offload to Korobedu, who runs over, and suddenly it's 39-21, and Fiji's out of it. I don't know. I think this hurts. Obviously, today's loss hurts Fiji too. But, I mean, I haven't rewatched the game because I was down visiting my grandparents and then fell asleep in the car, so I didn't watch the full game live. So I don't really know what went wrong in the first half for the Wallabies. But it just looked like we decided to do everything that never works for us. We went for the loopy, out the back stuff, trying to force it wide instead of going, hard and straight to start with. And then when Willie Genia come on, we seem to go back to that forwards actually being forwards and getting forward momentum. And obviously it turned the game around. But, I mean, we've got Wales this weekend, so it's going to be interesting to see how we stack up against those guys. What did you think of it?
I think it was definitely a situation of we looked a hell of a lot better in the second half than the first half. That first half was tight and it was, a relatively even and good game. And, you could definitely see Australia had better qualities, but Fiji were just getting those line breaks and were looking really strong there. And then second half came along and, Will Genia, like you said, and a few other players came in and the squad just looked so much better. I don't know if you agree, but our 9, Nick White, I just don't think he's that good. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you now. I do.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good. I think it was also Lealifano came off, I believe, at the start of the second half, and we actually looked a lot better. And I think the forward pack looked really strong. Mauls, lineouts, scrums, we would not dominating them, but we certainly looked better, as you'd hope. And Pocock and Hooper were really good together. They were doing their own jobs, and it was really strong. And it was a much better second half than first, and it showed in the scorelines too.
Yeah, exactly. And just before I get back on Nick White, I definitely think it was stupid for anyone who thought that Pocock and Hooper couldn't work together after they've worked together for years. I don't think it was ever Pocock and Hooper working together that lost us Wallabies games. It was always, a lack of a 10 or not enough threats out wide or the rest of the forward pack not showing up. Those two know how to work together. Somehow they miraculously work together, but I mean, it was good to see Poe back and actually play. So that was good to see. But I just think Nick White's just a one-trick pony, and I think he used that trick against New Zealand, and now everyone knows what it is.
Yep.
The first play, or the first, or no, I don't think it was the first, or maybe it was the second Fijian try, where he has to box kick. He has the forwards set up in the formation that they do now, where they have 3 people line up off a rock that gives the 9, and he decides to pick up the ball, take 2 massive steps to the right as if he's going to dart, and then decides he wants to box kick. And then a Fijian obviously starts making the tackle, and then he loses it, and Fiji scoop it up and score. That's just a poor play. And I think, like I said, I think since that New Zealand game where it worked for him to take 2 or 3 steps and force the Kiwis awake, I think he hasn't looked as good since because everyone knows that that's what he's going to do.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Like,
No,
that's
for sure.
going into New Zealand, no one had any like real film on him because he'd been playing in England. And yeah, I don't know. I think we need to start Willie Genia, and I think we need to be more direct because I think we run the risk of Lely playing himself out of form. This
Yeah.
was always one of my concerns with him, and why I think he wasn't in the Wallabies is, like we said, he's a better player than Foley, but at least Foley's consistent, and Foley's going to show up and do his job. Like, Lely can show up and do a job and be amazing, but he plays himself out of form if he makes a mistake, and I think him missing the goal kicks and then everything else, playing that loopy play that doesn't suit him as a 10, I think it just took him out of the game. I don't know what you've seen.
Yeah.
But that's just...
No, I'm in complete agreement there. And like you said, he plays with his form and like he plays in and out of it. And he hasn't been outstanding enough to be playing strong and consistent. But I think just flowing back to the Nick White situation, Nick White does what he has to and nothing more. Where Will Genia, honestly, every time he takes the field, he takes control of the entire field and like he just owns it. Like, He's everywhere. He's always keeping defense on their toes. And maybe it actually works. Like, I don't know if Czech is going to consistently do it, but maybe it works. Like, first half, Nick White just playing a, regular, easy game, and then coming out, Genia tests the defense. Like, maybe that's just what works for us. But, it's going to have to come down to what happens, if we make the quarters and the semis. Like, what do we do then?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's my biggest fear is that I think Will Genia might be... I don't know what it is, but he seems to be rattles as a starter for the Wallabies nowadays. But when he comes off the bench, he seems to be motivated to want to do something. But like you said, I think to get the best out of Genia so far with what he's shown this year, it is start him on the bench. But do we risk playing Nick White and going down? Like, we can't afford to go down 20 points, particularly not against a side that's not Fiji and that's not going to just completely dip for 10 minutes so we can score 3 tries. Like, they were decent tries, but I mean, other Tier 1 nations aren't going to let us score 2 rolling mauls on them in 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know if it's worth the risk. And I think we start Will Genia this week.
Okay.
Because if we lose, like Fiji lost today, so that gives us massive breathing room. If we lose and Will Genia doesn't play, then we know that we have to start White and bench Will Genia. But if Will Genia plays and plays a blinder, I think you just let him play out the rest of the cup.
Yeah.
As the starting number 9.
I definitely think we probably just stick with the formula. I think we just go out with Nick White again. If he doesn't perform like he did last week, we swap it for Will Genia, and I think we're going to look a lot better for it, and we'll just see what we consistently do starting each game. But I think we're definitely in a positive here. Like, we have to go up and face Wales, who are our biggest competitors for the top of the division, top of the pool, sorry. And we have a lot better turnaround. Like, we have a 8-day turnaround versus their 6. So, it's not a huge difference. It's certainly not, Fiji having a 4-day turnaround to Uruguay's first game. But it's definitely works in our favour, and hopefully we get a lot of benefits out of that.
Yeah, it's us with a full day of rest before they can even have their rest day.
Yeah.
So we can be training while they're still having to do recovery, which is a bit of an advantage. But, I mean, still, I think most of these nations would be equipped.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Tier 1 ones for such a quick turnaround.
Yeah, you know what to expect from a World Cup and how quick turnarounds are. And, the schedule came out ages ago and they'd be fully prepared for this anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how Wales do, since they had the blowout against Georgia the other night, whether they're genuine contenders or just pumping the brakes on a Tier 2 nation like we did. But, I mean, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind. Whatever happens. Like, I won't disagree if we start Nick White, but I just think Will Genia has shown time and time again that he seems to elevate in that Wallabies jersey, but I just don't know if he has it as a starter, but I think it's worth the risk. But again, this is a must-win for the Wallabies.
Yeah.
I think it makes our run to the final, which is obviously easily our ultimate goal, a lot easier if we top this pool.
Yeah.
I think if New Zealand finish first in theirs and we finish second in ours, and we somehow make this and we make it to the semi-finals, I think we'll have to face them,
Yeah.
which I think is our worst nightmare. So I think obviously it's a must win, but I just don't know. I don't know. Like that 9 and 10 position, we need to shore it up, and I don't think Tamua starting over Lily is a good good choice either. I don't know what you feel about that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we almost set up first half as our safety, and then second half is where we're going to look strong with a lot of fresh legs and a lot of flair to go with it. But like you said before, do we risk going down early for that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's one thing too. I guess like I like the idea of that and I like that now we actually have a plan B, you know what I mean? Like we go into half time and we come out playing differently.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, a lot of the guys that we have on our bench are guys that at other times have proven that they can't play catch up footy. Like Will Genny is sort of the way he plays gets frantic. He seems to lose control when we're down big, and our forwards that are key all start making mistakes, and then it all just fizzles out through the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think we got to start Nick White, see if it was just a one-off, and then just hope that if we go down, that the bench can bring us back.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I know from what I've seen, we don't really seem like a strong finisher, which was good that we did finish strong against Fiji. Yeah. But like you said, it wasn't this situation where we were all coming from, 10, 15 points behind. It was a situation where we're right in it, and we only need that slight push over the edge coming out of halftime, which we got, and we're right back in the game. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on the circumstances, which I think Wales could test us a lot more, and it's either going to be, I don't know, I feel like it's probably going to be a relatively low-scoring game where it's going to be a lot of penalty kicks that are going to come down to it. I guess that's what we're going to see. That's Sunday it's on. So
yep, Sunday. So are you tipping the boys? Are you following the Wallabies?
I think this pool we definitely have the opportunity to, finish on top and not drop a game, which I think it'd be fantastic to see. And then after that, we verse the runner-up of Pool C, potentially, or the winner, depending on where we go, which is going to be interesting to see who did after the French upset the Argentinians. The Argentines.
Yeah, did you watch that game?
I didn't actually, but I definitely would consider catching up on it. Like, it was a tight game that was definitely back and forth.
Yeah, it was. It was actually really good. I only caught the last 30 minutes, but it seems to be that the French actually showed up to this World Cup for once.
Yep.
Like they seem to do what Scotland do, where 2 years after the World Cup, they have a really good Six Nations season. They don't seem to win it, but they'll finish second or third and then just completely dip for the next 2 years. And when it comes around to the World Cup, they look like shit. But yeah, I was surprised they pushed Argentina. I think the disappointing part for France was they were up 20-3 at half time.
Yeah.
And then obviously won 23-21, but they let Argentina score 18 second half points, which is a bit concerning. But I mean, I think it was just a really, really solid hit out. And two teams that play a lot like each other, but they're in completely different parts of the world. Like the French are very flary and very tend to throw it around for a European side, and then the Argentinians are very structured for a Southern Hemisphere side. So yeah, it was a good game. The ending was sick. It went I think it was Puma's got a penalty kicked it, and then France scored a drop goal, which was the first one I'd seen in ages, and then Argentina obviously missed a penalty to win it. But yeah, I just thought it was a good game.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed that way. It was definitely a tale of two halves. Like France came out and dominated, and then Argentina made a really good comeback but didn't finish it off.
Yeah.
Then we got to see obviously New Zealand got a not revenge, but definitely establish their dominance in this tournament and beat the South Africans.
Yeah, they did. Did you watch this game?
No, I didn't catch this one either.
Yeah, I only caught the last 30 minutes too, because I don't like to watch New Zealand games all the way through, because it's just a risk of watching them blow out someone that I like, and usually whoever's playing New Zealand I like. But I mean, South Africa, only losing by 10 to the All Blacks is a massive feat. I think.
Yeah, it's certainly not bad.
I think I just think I don't know. I obviously didn't see the whole game, but in the last like 30 minutes, I just think South Africa just couldn't find the way to break the Kiwi line. Like it just seemed like the Kiwis had 16 or 17 men out there defending,
Yeah, which is always
just
the
like
way
they
it is
normally
against
do.
New Zealand. Like I don't know how they do it, but they're just so
Yeah,
strong in defense.
yeah, they are. It's ridiculous, and obviously, Springboks prop Trevor Nakake tore his right calf or something, which I think had a bit of an impact on how good the forwards were doing, since he had a couple of good carries while I was watching. But I just think, yeah, South Africa seemed to have a few injury worries too, like Cheslin Colby, who's their winger, who was really electric while I was watching. He went down with what looked like a ankle sprain, kept playing though, and then Peter Steph looked like he'd hurt his knee. He's their flanker. He was playing a good game too. So I mean, it's just New Zealand just being as dominant as they are. Some of their tries in the highlights were insane. Just New Zealand being.
Yeah, exactly, and it's hard to stop that. But I think we'll quickly just run through. I think we don't have too many ties to any of the other games. Did you catch any of them?
I did actually watch the opening game. I did watch Japan versus Russia, and I was actually surprised by Russia. I know the scoreline didn't reflect it, but they were holding Japan to it. And then, obviously, they're one of the poorer teams in the World Cup. I don't think, with how big Russia is, they don't have a national academy or anything. Most of their guys aren't even playing like level one footy anywhere. They're playing in Russian comps where they're still paying to play. But I think, I mean, Japan looked good. I just think like the rest of the results just show like all the dominant teams won, and it's just what you expect. Like all the higher up nations won and beat everyone else convincingly. It
Yep,
wasn't. There's not too much else to say about the
exactly.
first
It
week.
was just consistently, Italy, the European team, wins. Ireland beat Scotland as probably predicted. England flogged Tonga, and then Wales flogged Georgia, and then once again, we look at this short turnaround. Samoa flogged Russia, but it's like Russia have a what they had a 4 day turnaround too, and Samoa came off fresh for their first game of the World Cup. So rough situation for Russia, but it's obviously just the way they've set out the tournament. So you can't really complain too much about what is predicted for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the luck of the draw. I will say though, in the obviously Reece Hodge, I don't know if you've seen, but Reece Hodge just got handed a 3 week suspension for his tackle. So he's out for the rest of the pool stage
Yep.
for us. He won't be back until quarterfinals for his tackle that actually didn't get carded or anything.
No.
Didn't even get checked out by the TMO, which could have completely changed the game since he was pretty solid for us in the second half. But then the Samoans got 2 yellow cards in the first half, and I think they did really well to weather the Russian storm, obviously, when they had 13 people on the field. But both of the tackles that happened should have been reds.
Okay.
Like, I think the argument that the ref made against it was that the Russian players had bent into the tackles and they had sort of braced themselves for the contact a little bit. But you also have to realize that the Samoan guys come in and from 5 meters out, they had already bent and like got into contact shape, got into tackle contact form, if that makes
Yep.
sense. Like they hadn't just got to the player and then accidentally hit him in the head. Like they had charged in and from 5 meters out, they were set at how high they were going to tackle, and they clipped the Russian guys' heads both times. Both of them got yelled. Actually, the second guy that did it, it was head-to-head contact, and he got knocked out. The Samoan hooker did. But I just think they're going to the judiciary. I think they're going to get. If Reece Hodge got 3 weeks for his, I think those guys should get five because, or at least 4 or 5, because it was clearly like they were reckless. They went straight for the head, and I think this is just like we said about the league, it's getting to that point where if there's any contact to the head, it should just be a red card. Like I know it sucks, but that you can't stand there and say you can't have a ref standing there in two minds thinking about mitigating factors like whether the other player was bending into it. You just have to rule with an iron fist, I think, and say any contact to the head. Like if World Rugby's serious, they have to say and make it easier for the refs. Like they, I'm just getting sidetracked here, but they come out late yesterday, and World Rugby has done what they always do to their refs and said the referees haven't been good enough the first few games. We're not impressed. It's not the consistency that we need. And, that's your organization throwing you out to dry. And really, they're adding all these laws. They're expecting one ref to watch a breakdown and make sure the teams on side and make sure the opposition's not doing anything illegal, and then they got to watch high contact. I think it's getting to the point where World Rugby need to start pulling back some of the laws and saying, all right, any contact to the head is just a red card, and just making it easier for these guys so they're not making so many mistakes. Because, like, it is, we're all human, but you make one mistake in a World Cup and it's going to get spoken about. But World Rugby is definitely not helping.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's hard as a referee, especially in union when there's so much going on you got to keep up with. So, it definitely, like you said, maybe that is the way they go. If there's head contact, it's just a red card, because it definitely simplifies that point of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's also their call to make.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we move on to the NFL once again. Week 3 just passed us with a few really strong teams emerging and some certainly whimpering back.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about it?
It was actually a lot of close games, and close games where I didn't think there was going to be. So it was definitely interesting. You look at results like Saints getting up, with Drew Brees getting injured. I certainly didn't expect them to beat Seattle, but Sean Payton's, outstanding, so you can't ever fault them. The blowout, of Carolina Panthers on Cardinals was definitely surprising. Like, Kyle Allen coming in for his first start, and it's not like Kyler Murray's an experienced person in the NFL, like it's his first season too. But I didn't expect that dominance, which a lot of it did come in the late quarters.
Yeah.
But what about you? What were some highlights there?
I just think, obviously, I haven't had a chance to watch this Arizona game yet, but I just think the past few weeks, a lot of the things that have kept Arizona close in games is their defense. And I think if you let Christian McCaffrey get, 153 yards on the ground, and then like another 35
in the air,
through the air, I just think, like, they just blew the brakes off the Cardinals defense, and then that just puts more pressure on Kyler, and obviously he threw his 2 picks. And I think they're making Kyler throw too much. Like, Kyler had 8 rushes, and they rushed with David Johnson 11 times and Chase Edmonds 3 times. That's 14 rushes, and they made Kyler throw 43 times. That is an insane amount for a rookie quarterback to be throwing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it is probably checkdowns and stuff, but still, like, I think they're just overworking Kyler. And I mean, I get that they will probably want to get him up to speed as quick as they can so they can start scaling him back. But also, like, it just seems to be that they're working him too hard. And Carolina obviously took advantage of it. But I mean, yeah, Kyle Allen coming out and throwing 4 touchdowns, nearly having did he have a perfect QB rating?
I don't think he did, but he wouldn't have been far from it.
Yeah, just missed out. I think if he had made 1 or 2 more passes. But yeah, it's insane, yards, really.
Yeah.
What do you think? Obviously, this has been, everyone's spoken about this, but what do you think this does for Cam Newton? Do you reckon they just bench him for the rest of the year, or until he gets fully right?
I think they've come out, and I think it's looking at about a 4-week injury for something that at the start of the season they said wasn't injured and his foot was fine. It's now come out and they're talking about a 4-week injury. I think, after the first 2 games, it wasn't looking good for Panthers playoffs-wise or anything, and I think both of us didn't predict them to make playoffs. So I think long-term it doesn't hurt them too much, but
yeah,
I don't think anyone expected. It's the Cardinals, so, you have to consider that. But for Kyle Allen to go out, throw 4 passing touchdowns and look far more accurate than Cam Newton has all season.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a situation where I would continue to sit out Cam until he's 100% and then let him come back. And I'm sure that first couple weeks of him back, he's going to dominate. I hardly doubt that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him come back and dominate. But, I mean, obviously, I was watching a clip from the Pat McAfee show this morning. Obviously, Colts ex-punter. And he was just talking about how and it's obviously been echoed by a lot of ex-NFL players, that they're just starting to feel like Cam's sort of run out of love for the game.
Yeah.
Which is fair, considering he basically was what Andrew Luck copped on steroids, in the way that Andrew Luck would get beaten behind the O-line that was terrible and terrible for years. Cam would be forced to make plays with his legs, and he'd love to. And I just think, he's missing. Last week I watched him play whoever it was, Tampa or whatever, and he was missing clear throws, just overthrowing receivers. I don't know whether it was his shoulder or what. He just doesn't seem to have it anymore. Like, just doesn't seem to have the passion or the want. I think, well, like Pat McAfee said, I think he's just got to that point where he's like, look at all the money I've made. I've spent all my life trying to get this rich. And, I think some of these older players are starting to realize, or ones that have had to be dual threats for years, are starting to realize, like, you know, it's fun. I like football, but the way I make my money and the way I get rich is I have to go out there and kill myself, essentially, like ruin my body just to get rich for another year. And it's like, is it all really worth it?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no, that's fair. And I feel like he's never really hit that form. And obviously, 2015 season was like MVP.
mm,
But after that Super Bowl, he just has never looked the same.
yeah, like Pat McAfee said, that strip fumble or whatever Von Miller got on Cam, where I think they stripped him and then took it to the house or
Yep.
whatever they did.
Yep.
They made him fumble on the goal line, just took it out of Cam. And I think if not that, then I think obviously them being in the Super Bowl, and then I think they went 7-9 or 8-8 the next season.
It's been relatively poor since.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if Kyle Allen can play like this, I think it definitely helps Christian McCaffrey because he's been swallowed up the first 2 weeks just because Cam can't make his throws. So
Yeah, it
it looks
certainly
good
helps
going
him.
forward, but
But we'll
it's
see how
whatever.
it comes. Especially with a few upcoming games against more, you'd say more difficult defenses than the
Yeah.
Cardinals. We'll see how they go. Like Texans next week, that's going to be a absolute shootout. So we'll see how that goes. But
hmm
I wanted to throw it to the new boy, as he's now called Danny Dimer, Daniel Jones, with his first start for the Giants and getting a W.
Yeah, I was surprised by this. Oh, actually, I mean, it was Tampa, but I didn't expect Daniel Jones to lead the comeback the way he did. That was insane. What were they down? They were down massive, weren't they? Yeah.
Down 18, yeah, it was 28-10. And then he came out and, from the get-go, like straight out of halftime, he just looked fantastic, and it was a completely new game. Like he looked really good, like 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, which a lot of people didn't know he had in his locker. But, 2 great runs and reads, like he just looked fantastic.
I didn't know he had the legs either, to be honest. I didn't.
No, I had no idea.
So is he quick? Did you see
He
it? Is he
wasn't
quick or?
overly quick, like he's not outstanding pace. It was just smart reads, and he, read it well, and, credit to him for that. Like the first one was just nothing was open, and he just ran straight down the middle, and it was completely open.
Right.
So it was just a good play from him.
Yeah.
And the second one, he let out of the pocket, didn't see anyone, went for it, and yet got in clean. So it was just smart football, which I was extremely surprised about, because I pictured him as nothing but a pocket passer, as
Mm.
Eli Manning and people are. So I was surprised to see him actually have the legs, which is something Eli Manning wouldn't do. And it definitely
Yeah.
carried them and won them the game, those choices.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how he goes next week with no Saquon. Obviously, just against the Redskins still, but I'm obviously just doing the eye check with the stats now, and not a lot of rushing going. But I mean, yeah,
Well,
I'm impressed that he
the
let it
truth
come
is,
back.
Saquon, did he get injured in the first quarter?
I think it was.
Yeah, like he pretty much played the entire game without Saquon. And yeah, like you said, it's Tampa Bay, so it's a bad defense. Well, it's not a terrible defense, but it's not a great team overall. And he's leading that without Saquon. I definitely think it's a situation where you don't bring Saquon back until he's 100%. Like, it's a high ankle sprain, which, from the sounds of things, is a really bad injury to get, because it's only like a 4 to 6 week recovery. But from like previous NFL players and so on, you're never kind of right, like, post that. It's like one
Yeah.
day it feels fantastic, and the next day you just can't walk on it. So I think it's a situation where they should rest him for like definitely 6 weeks, if not like 8 weeks, because they're not going for playoffs. Like, that's not going to happen. And I think you just keep giving time to Daniel Jones, and when he gets Saquon back, he's going to look fantastic. And you give him all the attacking threats for next year. Like, I think that's the way the Giants should do it anyway.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I definitely agree. I think knowing the way that the NFL operates, though, if the Giants get a win next week and then they have to go place the Vikings and the Pats, they obviously lose those two. But then if they beat the Cards, I think they might rush Saquon back because they obviously will go 2-2. And depending on how the Eagles are trending, they're sort of trending very mediocrely right now. I think Giants. Yeah, actually, no, they won't. I don't think that neither any of the NFC East teams besides the Cowboys are. I'm just canceling my own point. I won't say what I was going to say, but yeah, they should rest Saquon. I think if Daniel Jones has proven that he can be the franchise quarterback, I think they should go out and draft another running back.
Okay.
Just maybe not in the first round, maybe not reach unless there's anyone there, but in the second round, I definitely think they should prioritize getting a running back just so they're not overloading Saquon. Because this is what a lot of, again, to borrow other people's takes and obviously a little bit of mine too, but they seem to be like grounding and pounding with Saquon is going to help them win. But it's also going to get to the point where when this team, if Daniel Jones is the franchise quarterback and everyone else develops and they get in the right talent that they need and they hit enough lucky picks in the draft that they actually develop a contending team, by the time they get to that point in 4 or 5 years, Saquon is going to be done. Like a high ankle sprain will just be the start of his injury list if he's being expected to rush for 2,000 yards or have a 2,000 like all-purpose yards season every single year. Saquon's just going to end up in a ditch and he'll be a forgotten, battered, bruised building piece that got them to where they are. So I think they should, like obviously, like you said, put him on ice. They're not making playoffs this year. Let Daniel Jones develop on his own, and then hopefully Saquon comes back fully recovered, and they can just go out and tear up the league.
For sure. I just wanted to raise a question too. Obviously, on the change of Eli Manning getting dropped and Daniel Jones coming in and playing outstanding, I wanted to raise the question, and I actually really like to hear, people at home that, support the NFL and, know a thing or two. What do you think? Should Eli Manning be a Hall of Famer? Because it's a big talk now. It's kind of low-key the end of his career now. Do you think he's worthy of a Hall of Famer tag?
Well, I think he is. I know a lot of current NFL fans might not think because of, and obviously, I mean, since I've been a fan of the NFL, Eli Manning has consistently been labeled as one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, just because. But I mean, at the same time, I think 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think he beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think the resume warrants a Hall of Fame, and I think he should be respected for what he's done because at the same time that he probably could have requested a trade when the Giants started going down or maybe signed somewhere else, I think he stuck it out at the Giants and stayed with them. And now he's happily handing over the mantle to Daniel Jones. He's not kicking up a stink or anything. So I think he does deserve a Hall of Fame spot. What about you, though?
I definitely agree 100%. Everything there. There's two sides of the argument. It's this side of how can he not be in the Hall of Fame when, he's won 2 Super Bowls and been the MVP in both of those games. Like, that's an outstanding feat that, next to no one could do. Like, that's brilliant. And, some people think just getting a Super Bowl MVP is enough to get in, like, potentially, depending on the circumstances. Like, he was really strong in those games. But I think what I come down to, there's just one statistic that makes me say no. So I'm on the side of he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. And it's the one statistic of, and I don't know if you know, but so I'll ask you the question. What do you think his win-loss record is, if you don't know?
I do know, but I think when you say I'm just going to say a guess. I obviously know what it is, but, going off his resume with his, what is it? Here it is. 56,000 yards.
15 years in the league, like
362 touchdowns. I'd say his winning percentage at lowest should probably be around 60-65%.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe a bit lower, especially through the hardships, like fair enough. But I think a Hall of Fame quarterback is someone who should have been able to change, like I was going to say change a franchise, which he has. He's won them 2 Super Bowls. But just being consistent and a strong output. But for those of you who don't know, he's dead 50-50. After the game last week, he's 116-116. So
that's perfect.
It's the perfect. Oh, sorry for that. It's a perfect note for him to end on, But
Mm.
it's just like, I definitely don't want to see a quarterback in the Hall of Fame with an even record. Like, if
Yeah.
he played one more game, I'm almost certain that's a loss, and he now has a losing record. It's a situation of, I feel like in his time, he's not the best quarterback. Like, of the same time, you have people like Drew Brees, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, like a few of those quarterbacks, even if you wanted to say Tom Brady, like, who he looks like not horrible, but much worse than, and they all have a lot better claims to the Hall of Fame than Eli.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm just going back now because I just want to see who the Giants have drafted the past couple of years to sort of help Eli, just to see
No
because
one,
I
probably.
obviously yeah, but and that's the thing. I think a lot of his losing record has been because for years and years the Giants have had a losing record because they just never seem to draft right. And I think Eli would have been an elite guy if maybe he retired 3 years ago
Yeah.
or at least 2 years ago when they benched him for Geno Smith. And that's another sad thing too is if Eli never got benched that one day, that basically got who was it? Ben McAdoo fired at the time. Like if he didn't bench Eli, then Eli would have started every single game of his career. But instead, I think he ended up winning that game. But yeah, you make a good point. I don't think you can be a Hall of Fame quarterback and have a dead flat, dead even record at the end of your career.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that you need to have changed the game and definitely left your mark, but I don't know, it's also hard because it's like he's just following in his big brother's footsteps in Peyton Manning, who is, let's just say out of the retired, is definitely, well, out of everyone, he's like top five quarterback in history, no doubt about it. Like, he's currently holding, most touchdowns, and he won the Super Bowls, and, he was the only competition Tom Brady had for so many years.
Yeah,
It's hard to follow in those footsteps, but I think out of everything he has done, just to, unfortunately, whether it's his fault or the team's fault, to finish on an even record just doesn't scream Hall of Fame to me.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't, and that's sad. I it's funny now that Eli's not starting, I feel sorry for him because he sort of stuck it out. But a couple of weeks before, I would have been cheering that he's still the Giants' starting quarterback. I think that just perfectly encapsulates it. It's a guy who, if you're playing against, you respect, but you also know it's like, oh, we're going against Eli this week, and I don't think that's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's like, and past players have said that it's kind of like you come up against Eli and there's no special preparation. It's just we put pressure on him, he'll crumble. So
Yeah,
that's not Hall of Fame worthy, I don't think. But I think we
no,
move on to the rest of the games. We got a couple games that we've both watched and liked. What do you think of the Kansas City Baltimore game? Arguably the game of the week.
yeah, I definitely think it was easily the game of the week. I think it was the most competitive. I um I was actually impressed, ironically, with the Ravens defense. I think if it's easy to say, but if Kansas didn't have Pat Mahomes and some of the big plays they do, I think this is a very good outing for the Ravens defense. I think one of the things that keeps developing though is that the really, really good defensive teams are getting themselves penalized out of the game. Like the Ravens defense, I think it was on the Chiefs' first touchdown drive, so their second actual drive. But they had Mahomes backed up and it was like second or third and long. They force him out of the pocket, get a stop, and then a flag gets thrown because stupidly one of the Ravens' defensive linemen smashed Mahomes after the play and they get a roughing the pass, so that's 15 yards added onto the play. And the Chiefs go and yeah, and then the Chiefs go and score. And then, next play, Ravens get stopped. They have to punt. And then Chiefs go and score again. And then on the Ravens' next drive, that's obviously when they went on the fourth and ones and turned it over. And then, Chiefs scored again. I just think it's getting to the point where Ravens and the Raiders have this happen to them too a lot, ironically, is they're both really good defenses, but it seems to be a rookie or like a second or third year defensive tackle who will apply really good pressure to the quarterback and then do something stupid after and it hurts the team. And I think that that's what lost the Ravens the game on this week. I don't know how you think about it, but I think this was the Ravens' game to lose, and I think they lost it because their defense got penalised out of it.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. But I don't know. I kind of came out of this game. Obviously, it's hard not to say Patrick Mahomes looked outstanding, and I just don't think there's anything he can't do.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so tough for anyone to stop them. Like, anyone, like even Patriots, I think he put up like 24 points in a quarter against the Patriots, who hardly concede that in a game. Like, he's just outstanding on all fronts. And that's him without, his starting running back. And, LaShawn McCoy was banged up, but had an outstanding game still. And Tyreek's out, and the O-line's banged up. Like, it doesn't matter what condition he's in, he's just going to thrive.
Yeah.
So it's, a lot of that's down to Andy Reid too. Like, he's a fantastic head coach, one of the best in the league, but he's just unbeatable. I honestly walked away kind of, because this was the first Ravens game I'd watched, and there's been so much hype because Lamar Jackson has been outstanding. I was really unimpressed.
Oh, okay.
I think he was extremely lucky. Like, you'll probably know the two plays. He had the one right in the bottom corner, threw the big, 50-50 ball up. I don't even think it was a 50-50 ball, which I actually think was a pass interference. Like, I think the receiver extends his arm and gets away from the defensive back and then catches the ball practically on the line. That's a situation where I think he actually got quite lucky. I think that's like a complete panic throw, which he was. It was in a situation where he had to make a throw and make a play, and he did. But I think majority of, like, if he versus almost any other team that actually has a good secondary, like Chiefs are a bad defense, that's an interception. So there was that one, and then his other one across the field. It was like a 3rd and 17, and he throws it across the field, and I honestly have no idea how Snead came down with it.
Yeah.
Like, it went up, and once again, I looked at that and just went, yep, that's an interception for sure. And Ravens managed to come down with it. And, like, he's putting it in places. I just think they were really bad choice throws. Like, they were panic throws, and that's what you get when you're down versus the Chiefs. And that's where Chiefs start to excel. I just think, his stats looked slightly inflated to what they potentially should have been.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think Lamar had a good game.
Yeah, he certainly didn't have a bad game.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Lamar, so I'm always going to have a few blinders on when I watch him. But I do get what you mean. I think you also have to take into account, though, that he's only started, 8 games in the NFL?
Oh, for sure.
I think, like you said, he will make those mistakes. I think the Ravens definitely come out too pass happy. I think in the second half when they started running it with Ingram and he established himself a lot more and they were making their drives last longer, they weren't trying to be Kansas.
Yep.
They were just trying to beat the shit out of that Kansas defense, which it was working. I think they looked a lot better then. But yeah, I think Lamar's going to make these mistakes. And this is what I'm worried about now, is that he's had a couple of, what look like good games on stats. And then they come out pass happy against, I don't know who they've got coming up. But I think Chicago, is it next week?
No, they have a relatively, I think they've got Browns, Steelers, Bengals in the next 3, which shouldn't be bad outings for him. Yeah, Browns at home next week. So I think he certainly looks inflated because he versed 2 bad defenses. But, taking back everything I've said, the improvements he's made to this season compared to last season, like you said, came out first game after everyone, perfect passer rating. He came out and was just not bad for a running back. That's exactly what he needed to say. And you stand back and you just applaud him because it's he's come a long way in one off season. Like you said, he's only started 8 times. He took over halfway through last season. And, he's only coming up to his first full season now. So you can't deny how well he's improved as well.
Yeah, exactly. And just so everyone knows sort of what we're going on about, Lamar come out of college as probably one of the best dual threat. He was labelled a dual threat quarterback. I think he was just a good quarterback by NFL standards, but he come out of Louisville with I think it was 52 career rushing touchdowns and 52 passing or 60 passing or something. He was he could do everything, and then because of that, he got labelled and sort of pointed towards, he's more running sorted. They shouldn't, they shouldn't trust him to pass. And then he obviously took over from Flacco, and he looked all right for a rookie that takes over halfway through the season, but he didn't look that good passing. And that's obviously, this is the improvement he's made this year, and that's why when everyone was saying maybe we should shift him to running back last year, that's why he come out week 1 after he had the perfect passer rating and said, not bad for a running back and all that, which was pretty good. But
it was the entire offseason, he'd just gone, and it was meme after meme about him being a running back. That was just the running joke.
Yeah, it was. And I think that actually played and helped the Ravens with the play style that they're using, because everyone thought they were, obviously they added Mark Ingram and they still had Gus Edwards. And I thought, everyone said, they probably thought that they'd be running a lot of run-pass option and having Lamar try and take off for 10 yards and then he comes out and passes. I think that helps it helped disguise what the Ravens were actually going to do, which has helped them. But I just think, like you said, he's still prone to making stupid mistakes or, throwing up a 50-50 ball that's really 60-40 for the defense. And I think the Ravens would be much better off if they had a hard test next week or the next couple of weeks instead of going and facing the Browns and then the Steelers and then Bengals, because I think that'll just keep adding to the Lamar hype. And then when he gets to those weeks where he's going to have a couple of, defenses and the 50-50 passes aren't going to turn out, whether everyone turns on him or just trust that it's part of the learning process. But yeah, I think I was impressed. I still was impressed. I just, I mean, like it is. What are the Ravens to do when they're playing a quarterback who can have all the pressure in the world? He's jogs back 15 yards. He's under immense pressure. I should be getting sacked. And just off the back of his foot, he just looks like he's literally flowing like a floater in basketball. Like he's just laying up and it just sizzles down 30 yards or sizzles 20 yards to his running back and they get a first down. You can't beat that and you can't expect to do anything. Sorry.
It's so ridiculous how good he is out of breaking the pocket and not taking that sack. Especially in that third and fourth quarter, there was so many times it looked like he was sacked 100%. And he just manages to break away last second and then put in these type of throws. So credit to him, and hopefully it continues to improve.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Pat Mahomes, that's what I was talking about before. Sorry. Pat Mahomes too, though. I mean, if he keeps having the seat, I don't think he goes for 5,000 yards and that many this year, because I think the defenses are more alert to him. But, if he keeps going, I think he might start pushing for the best quarterback ever. I think it's just he's just going to run into this problem of however long Belichick stays around. I think the Pats are still the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, that's what holds him back.
And whether he can get past that hurdle. And if it gets to the point in 2 or 3 years where he's only got past it once and then gone on to lose the Super Bowl, I think people might start, doing what they do to LeBron in the basketball, where they say, well, Jordan won more NBA finals, or Jordan went to less NBA finals but won more, so he's the better player. And I mean, Pat Mahomes is just an insane talent, man. I'm rambling, but
no. The truth is too, though, he's at the start of his career and could have a 15-year-long career, where Brady's on the back of it, who we certainly don't see him going more than, another 3 years, but we don't know with Brady as well. But the moment Brady walks back and Patriots don't have a good backup, I think it's just wide open for him, and it pretty much becomes between him and the Ravens almost.
Yeah,
but
which is sick.
I think we leave that conversation for another day. I think we jump onto the final game, because this has ended up being another long episode. But thanks for listening to this point of the No One Asked podcast. But we got the last game that we just wanted to focus on quickly. I think this is going to be quite short and sweet, because it was an overall really boring game. But the Jags-Titans game, Gardner Minshew, I have nothing but praise for him. I love him.
Yeah, he's sick. I love the Mo. I love it. I don't like the jockstrap undies, like I've told you.
Like we've said, though, lucky we don't have to share the locker room with him. Yeah,
exactly. It's not a sight you want to see.
Yeah. But I think he is impressing again. He was a 6th round pick this year, in the most recent draft, and has come back and replaced Nick Foles really well. This is his only, this is his first win. But since he started, like, he's 5-1 touchdowns to interceptions. Like, that's fantastic for a rookie in the sixth round. Like, I think I've been really impressed. And he came out, and it was only an exciting first quarter, but he came out 2 quick touchdowns with just fantastic throws. Like, he was making good throws in good positions and just targeting well. I've been extremely impressed, and, you know, with the swagger he has, and, you know, he's been performing well. Like I said, I actually can't help but love him. And I told you last night or the night before, like, I've gone from hating the Jaguars to I actually like them now just because Gardner Minshew's there and he looks fantastic.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a good story. And like you said, he's putting the ball in really nice spots. Like, he is making really good throws.
Like, he's
And
making
the
some
touchdown,
really hard throws. Like, some
yeah,
of his
he
ones at
is.
the sideline, putting in a slight gap. He's doing fantastically considering it's his third game in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And his touchdown to interception ratio for like a sixth round pick is insane. The big thing for the Jags though is, I think, whether they can keep Ramsey and whether Leonard Fournette shows up.
Yeah.
Because the crazy thing was, I only watched the highlights for this, but I seen Leonard Fournette tear off for like a 67-yard run, and then I looked at the stats, and all he managed to get was um 65 yards or something. So he had one massive run, and then all his other runs seem to be negative. So I don't know whether it's because of the O line or what plays they're using him in, but
He was just running in between the tackles, and the Titans seem to have really good defense against the run.
right,
And that's what it looked.
okay,
And yeah, he went 16 carries for 65 yards, I think. But yeah, off one of his carries, he got 69 yards. So it leaves you standing back and going, so wait, without that run, he went 15 carries, 15 times he ran with the ball for like -4 yards.
yeah,
Like,
it's
he's a volume running back, but you expect him to be making positives. And I think it was just down to the good Titans defense. I think he's certainly going to improve, but it's certainly been a poor performance thus far.
yeah. Who do the Titans have in their D line? I'll just search that up. And obviously another big factor with how deep the Jags can go is whether they can keep Jalen Ramsey, because he makes their defense a lot better. I think they were impressive, but I don't know whether that was just because it was the Titans or what.
Yeah, Mariota just looked awful. Like, Gardner Minshew outplayed Mariota in every aspect of the game, which, considering Mariota was in 2015 the second overall pick, and Gardner
Well,
Minshew's a sixth round 199th overall pick. And okay, that's the other thing too. He's surely set for glory. He was picked in the exact same position as Tom Brady, both 199 overall, sixth round.
holy
We've
shit!
got the new Tom Brady. That's all
You're
I'm saying.
kidding. Is that legit?
That's legit.
Oh shit! I'm all on the Minshew.
Yeah, everyone hop aboard, get on the Minshew train because it's going to be a bloody fun ride.
Who do the Jags have coming up? There might be some games to watch.
If they play out like the final 3 quarters of the Titans, they certainly won't. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So next game they got the Broncos, which is going to be a horrendous game. Then they got the Panthers. If Kyle Allen versus Gardner Minshew, that's the game of the week. 100%.
Yeah.
Week 5, watch Panthers versus Jaguars.
Yeah. We'll put that down.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think that sums up the 7th week of the No One Asked podcast.
Yeah, I think it does too, man. Oh, I just want to say I sat through that Raiders versus Vikings game.
Yep.
Um,
Any big
and
takeaways?
Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller seem to be legit NFL players. I think if they weren't on the Raiders, there would be so much more hype about them. And like I said, I think the Raiders defense is legit. I think John Gruden has got it to a point where he's happy with it. And like it looked really good. They just, like I said, them and like it was what the Ravens did to themselves is just penalize themselves out of the game. Like they sacked Kirk Cousins on the first play of the game and then gave away 2 roughing the passer calls on back-to-back like plays. And then, the Vikings just are in a good field position for Thielen to score a touchdown. So I think the Raiders need to shore up, because that's been a thing that I've seen for them all season, is they need to stop giving away so many stupid penalties. And Derek Carr is just useless. I'm just disappointed in him, really. I thought he was going to have, I think...
It looked like it was going
Yeah.
to be his big breakout year after that first game, but it turns out the Broncos' defense is just beyond terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just disappointing. But, I mean, obviously, hopefully the Raiders pick it up. But I think they might be looking for a new quarterback once they get to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to
potentially.
ya.
I think Josh Jacobs, like you said, is a legit baller and is going to be fantastic. But he's been suffering
Yeah.
with illness the past 2 weeks. So,
Oh, is it illness?
yeah, he's been, I don't know what it is, but apparently he's lost like 10 pounds in,
Oh,
a
holy
week.
shit.
So he's actually extremely ill and still playing through this, which credit to him. He's doing fantastically still. But I think those numbers are definitely going to jump up in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Sweet. I hope so. Because I've been wondering why they've been using the other running back who's not really as good. Or he's pretty much the exact same as Josh Jacobs, just not as good. But
Yep.
damn, I didn't know he was injured and losing that much weight. That's not good. But
Yeah. But
I think
that's for the future, I guess, for them. We'll see how they continue to go. But, they got a lot of tough matchups coming up. So,
Yep, they do. They do. So, any games you keen for next week? That we should.
next week, what have we got on the cards?
Do we want to pick our 2 games now that we'll break down on the pod, or do we want to wait until after the game? So
Yep.
we know
Well,
it's
I
decent
definitely
to
think
watch?
we probably pick it now. I think the first game of the week, Green Bay, Philadelphia, is going to be...
Oh, yeah.
It's potentially going to be an extremely boring game, but I think it means a lot for both teams, whether Green Bay can keep their undefeated run and Philadelphia can bounce back. I see Green Bay cleaning this up, but this will either be an extremely low-scoring game or an extremely high-scoring game. So I think it's definitely going to be action-packed either way.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I definitely think the Bills in New England game, definitely not a game to watch, but definitely a game to look out for. Like both 3-0 in division rivals. Like it's going to be good, and it's going to be interesting to see how Buffalo can withstand Patriots. It's probably only going to finish like 12-17 or something, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a good test, I think.
Yeah, it will be. It will be to see if Josh Allen is actually legit or not
Yeah, for sure.
this season.
And is there any standout games you like?
This might be the first week of the season that's a bit meh for matchups. I mean, Ravens Browns. I want to see Browns bounce back, but I don't see them doing it against Ravens. That's really it, really. Oh, I'm probably going to go Dallas versus Saints. I want to see if the Cowboys are legit.
Yeah, it's a bit of an iffy game because there's no Drew Brees, so it's definitely not a game where you're going to sell yourself on either. And then I think the same goes with the Chicago Vikings game, another game of 2 good teams. I don't think Trubisky's going to put it together. He had a good game last week, but Vikings are a different team compared to Washington. So I think it's a lot of tight games, but no real, huge scoring, fun games. Maybe the Chiefs-Lions is going to be a shootout, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that is too.
All right, well, I think that wraps up the No One Asked podcast. If you'd like to take us out.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening. We said we'd watch time, and we still managed to hit an hour and a half, but I think we definitely condensed it. Sorry if I ranted again today and said the same shit over and over again. But yeah, I think we did well.
No, it was good overall. So hopefully, once again, if you haven't checked out the Instagram, it's No One Asked _podcast. We'd appreciate the follow. And I think we're going to try to, probably throw out a few more posts and a bit more, fan interaction, I guess. So definitely tune in for that. Should be a lot of fun. And, we're just looking for your opinions as well as ours. So, this is a two-way street. So we'd appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for the feedback again this week, guys. Thanks to Matt for chatting out. We'll look into, obviously, teeing up matchups and stuff for players and trying to break down why teams are winning certain games.
Yeah, I think that's
starting this week.
I think that's going to be really key for the NRL finals. I think that's going to be a really good one to watch out for there, and maybe the Wallabies game. So I definitely think it's an interesting topic to focus on, and yeah, we'll definitely look into doing that.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you to everyone for the feedback. Thanks for listening again, guys, and I hope you have a blessed weekend.
Cheers. Have a good one.